Hello, everyone. So UpStack is so excited to introduce the first webinar of our leadership assessment series, where we will be focusing on how to help VPs and other higher level executives be the best leaders they can be. So July's theme is all about how to improve your management style and other management structures, which is why we thought it would be a great start to begin with one of the most crucial management processes, which is having amazing one-on-one meetings with your team members. So to introduce that, we have UpStack's head of talent, Roxana, here with us to do a presentation. And we're so excited to have her here today. Roxana, so glad you're here. So excited to see what you have presented to us.
Hello. Thank you for the introduction. So nice to be here as well.
You want to share your screen?
Yep, let me do that now. There we go. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
So here we are. We thought about this presentation to help you improve your management style. First of all, to start with the one-on-one meetings and how to make them better. So as Nicole already mentioned, I'm Roxana. I'm the head of talent. I've been with the company with UpStack for 5 years now, and now I manage a team of 10 talent members, and they are distributed into 3 smaller teams. So this is the current structure, and I'm in charge of managing and coordinating the work inside of the talent department, and of course, making sure that everything goes according to our talent goals and objectives. Part of this is, of course, to have a very good sense of understanding and supporting each team member as we move along. So the benefits of having good one-on-one meetings, I just pointed out a few, but of course this is like different from one company to the other and from one leadership style or from one leader to the other. But for me, this is what I consider has worked better and better throughout time, and we're constantly improving, of course, but these are the crucial points that help us do amazing work in UpStack's talent department. So first of all, we consider that having great one-on-one meetings has greatly contributed into increasing the employees' retention. So I'm very happy to say that in the talent department, we have a strong bond in between the talent team members, but also they've been with the company for several years now. So this, of course, helps us attain our goals and having better bond inside the structure. And of course, this allows us to have better visibility. I'm able to actually see and foresee what's happening with each team member's work and activity if we have regular one-on-one meetings. And what regular means for us is that we have this type of meetings one-on-one with each team member. So we have them on a bi-weekly basis, so each 2 weeks. But of course, this doesn't mean that we cannot have any ad hoc meetings if that would help us improve. This also helps us to have a faster process and, of course, impactful decisions into our department, and to have also, together with that, a better personal connection. I consider that it also decreases blockages. I've seen this happening several times when team members shared with me during our one-on-ones that we have different, let's say, issues or concerns or questions, and by covering them one step at a time, we were able to cover any pain point that would appear along the way. Now, in order to better understand how to obtain success in our one-on-one meetings, we need to define the scope. We need to understand what's our purpose and what we want to obtain out of those one-on-one meetings. First of all, we want to listen. This is actually a crucial point into any type of a meeting, but especially for the one-on-ones. We need to have a planned topics preparation and to also practice a lot of active listening. Active listening, as you all know, I assume, but just to reinforce the idea behind it, is to really be present, to understand the other person, the other person's opinions and suggestions and ideas and feedback as well. Another thing that I would like to point out is that one of my, let's say, strongest points in having one-on-ones is to encourage the other person's activity and, of course, to support them all through the way. But in order to encourage them, that will empower them and make them more responsible. If we engage with the other person, it makes them express with more clarity whatever issue or question they might have. And in the end, what we all want to obtain is progress, right? To have progress, to progress in our work and activity, and to have, in the end, to obtain success. So finding the exact action points and have a planned follow-up meeting, that would definitely ensure the progress over time of our one-on-one meetings, because it will become more and more of a regular habit. Now, I would like to say that for me, it's very important to have a meaningful one-on-one meeting with each of the team members that I manage. So, impactful meetings will offer a lot of value, but for both parts. So it's not just for me as a manager, but it's for the other person involved in the meeting as well. And I would definitely like to point out that this is not about reporting. Reporting is something else, is something different. This time is a special bond time that I would like to say it's mostly regarding the trust that you built in a relationship. And it's a time that needs to be cherished and to provide a strong building block for a long-lasting bond with the other person. Coming back to that employee retention that I was referring to earlier.
Yeah. I have a question. This is Brenda.
Yeah, go ahead.
What are some topics that you've noticed in your team that have helped you build stronger bonds? Like, is it you tend to like become more emotionally vulnerable and like talk more about personal life, or is there any other topic that you think is a really good talking point if you want to build that bond at first with like a new employee?
I think it's a mix, and I would say that we need to be flexible and adapt to each person that we interact with. So it's not overall, let's say, the same structure for each person that I get to meet. For some people, it might be very important to have a personal interaction and to talk about what they do outside of work. And it's very important to have that side as well, because it's also the emotional connection that you build over time with the person. But for some people, it's very important to cover everything regarding work first and to be able to maintain a very professional, attitude, and to cover in those meetings their issues, concerns, feedback, suggestions, everything else. So it depends. It depends very much.
And you adjust to each team member, like how they personally are.
Exactly. For each person is different. We need to adapt. And I think that's very important. You do need to have an agenda, and you do need to schedule and to prepare before time, but you don't need to be really rigid about it. You need to be flexible and adapt. And if you don't mark all the points on the checklist, let's say, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe you cover something really important in that person's personal life that they want to share with you, and you build overall a stronger connection with them.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and actually this covers what I wanted to share with you, what Tim Ferriss actually shared with us all. And it's very important. It's a good quote because it covers like the most important things when you have one-on-ones. So what he's trying to say here is that for him, a good, strong agenda and an end time would be very important for a one-on-one meeting. And you need to clearly define the outcome that you want to have for that, to state your objectives, and to list topics or questions to cover. In his opinion, no meetings should go more than 30 minutes. And yeah, that's the same for me. I always plan 30-minute slots for my meetings. It's very rare that we move along like over this time, but it's for special, let's say, occasions or for rare occurrences. But in order to have a very good structure in your activity as well, it's better to plan your schedule ahead and to have expectations about when this will end, what's going to happen after, when we're going to do a follow-up meeting to discuss what we covered into today's meetings as well. So it's also important what happens after the meeting. This is what he mentioned as well when he refers to preparing in advance. And this is very important, like the time spent together. It's very valuable for both parts involved because it will interfere so much in how the team aggregates overall. If you share your vision and objectives with everyone, I mean, individually, it will be part of a bigger structure and they will be on board with everything that is shared during the meetings. Okay, so moving forward, I would like to talk a bit about motivation because this is actually very important for each employee or team member that's part of a bigger structure. The motivation is actually, for me, it's very important because it was part of my studies in my university years, and it follows me also in my, in my work. This is a key principle for employee satisfaction and progress over time. And I would say this is the engine for success, also in the personal life, but in the professional one as well, because it allows you to envision yourself, to see your goals, your objectives into your career path along the way, and to plan ahead of time. And let's say you're gonna see yourself as a leader into several years. How are you going to plan to obtain that title? How are you going to get there? You need to plan ahead. And this only happens with motivation. This is what will offer you a better vision in your career goals and path over time. So this is why it's important to touch ground on the person's motivation in the one-on-one meetings as well, to see how motivated they are to stay in the company, to stay in that team. Maybe they want to switch seats with someone else, or to see what's happening in a different structure and in a different department. Maybe, I don't know, I've seen this happening. There are team members that have went to check on marketing or success or, matching as well. So it depends very much on what the person feels they would like to and actually be motivated to work on.
And so as a manager, you just want to encourage them to...
Exactly. That's very, very important, to encourage everyone to follow their internal motivation, because that's when they will obtain success and grow even more. Only if they seek that motivation that comes from within.
Very important.
Now, if you want to address some questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was a really excellent presentation. I would say that from an employee side, I definitely value like really effective one-on-ones with my managers, because I think it's always important to have that like strong bond and know that my manager is someone who could lead me and help me get to where I want to go, like you said, like to follow my internal motivation. But it just made me think of like some issues that I've had in the past that I think if you can speak on, that would be really helpful. So one of the questions I had was, if you're in a one-on-one and an employee, let's say, made a mistake and they're maybe too anxious or too scared to tell you or to face that confrontation, how would you go about handling that situation?
Very good question. Thank you. So basically what I would like to say here, first of all, is how do you define making a mistake? First of all, we define that in the moment they are actually joining the team. And we have this saying like, you cannot make a mistake. There's no title as mistake. It's just work. It's like trial and error, and then go back to it and retrain and come back to it. So it's not necessarily a mistake. It's usual work that you do, and sometimes it works out for the better, sometimes it doesn't. But what comes out of it, like the outcome of it, should make you improve, right? So next time you won't do the same error or mistake, if you want to call it like that. But this is part of the induction that we have in the talent department. We define that there's no such thing as mistake, because it's like human error. It's something that you cannot really erase from the equation, right? It happens for everyone. So it needs to be acknowledged. And
Right.
by having regular support through the one-on-one meetings, you cannot really go into that further.
Right. Okay. I really like that. Very comforting. And I think that already, so what you're saying is from right from the start, you're trying to ease their anxiety and saying that there's no like mistake. Everyone makes errors time to time. And what's important is to learn from how to resolve it and to move on and everything. Right.
Exactly. If you stay focused on, well, I actually made a mistake. What am I going to do now? You're going to be so focused on that and have a lot of concerns that you don't even realize that maybe the solving out of it is actually at your disposal, and it's actually very easy to access. So yeah, it's better to leave out the anxiety and to leave out the mistake after all.
Okay. Excellent. Thanks. And then another question from your management perspective. What happens if there's a new team member who maybe has a steeper learning curve? Maybe they just switched them to your team from another industry, or they just require a little bit extra attention or training, but you don't have time in your schedule. How would you go about making sure that they get the help they need if you still have a packed schedule?
Right, right. That's also a very good question. And I would say that if you remember, I mentioned at the beginning that our talent department is structured into three smaller teams. So each team has a separate work focus, right? So there are no, let's say, I mean, a person is incorporated in a structure. So if a new member comes along, they would also have the support of, let's say, older team members, right? Existing team members that know how to handle this. So if I don't have time, I would actually go and ask for the support of another team member from that structure.
Okay.
And it's actually not that bad, because what happens is that we all have different styles, and it's better to know them and to learn from different people and what they do and how they handle different situations that might happen. So you get your own style by knowing what others will do as well.
Right. Okay, that's really nice. So like just have more heavily rely on the more experienced members of your team to help influence and guide
Exactly.
the person. Great. And then I have one last question. I know one of your previous slides had mentioned the importance of like a follow-up to every meeting. How would you say like is a great structure to use for like for a manager who's never done like follow-ups to meetings or sent them via email or Slack? What would you say is like an easy way for managers to make sure that every meeting has like next steps defined and a follow-up sent?
Yeah, so it's basically, I think it depends on each leader or manager's vision and how they want to do that. If they want to do that through an email or a Slack message, that's fine. But what I usually do is I plan it before, like during, let's say, a session. I would say, well, these are the points that we want to improve upon. Let's schedule maybe for the next session what has happened in order to for those let's say points to be improved, and then we have the second follow-up meeting scheduled that would focus on that, right? So, or we plan to have it in 6 months time. Doesn't matter. We just put it in the agenda and we write certain points that we want to cover to follow up on those criteria or items that we planned before. So, yeah, this is what I do, but I'm not saying it's the absolute thing. You can find your own way. It's just what works for me and for us as a team.
Okay, yeah. I know on Team UpStack, we love using Notion for a lot of things as well. So like having an agenda page in Notion for each team member, having the like exact things we want to talk about, and then writing in next steps that influence the next meeting right in the page so that everyone is kind of like, it's transparent for the whole company, and also everyone has access to seeing what you need to prepare for the next meeting.
Correct. That's right. Having everything visible, transparent, and accessible at any given time is very important.
Right. I totally agree. Okay, perfect. I don't have any other additional questions. Thank you so much. This was a really informative session, and we're very excited for the next sessions in this series. But thank you again, Roxana, for this great presentation. And it was a pleasure having you here today. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.